Commander Kira Patel stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Concordat's primary diplomatic station, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling nebula beyond. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared her for the delicate dance of interstellar diplomacy, yet here she was, representing humanity at one of the most crucial meetings in recent history. The Zixan delegation had been particularly vocal about their concerns regarding human expansion into the Orion Arm. Their species, with their crystalline bodies and centuries-long lifespans, viewed humanity's rapid progress with deep suspicion. What troubled Kira most wasn't their opposition, it was the dismissive way they delivered it. The humans are like children playing with fusion drives, Ambassador Nxtal had declared earlier that day, their crystalline form refracting light across the chamber. They lack the wisdom that comes with age. How can we trust them with advanced weaponry when they still resort to physical combat training? The comment had drawn knowing chuckles from several other species. Humanity's continued emphasis on physical combat training was often viewed as primitive by the more evolved species of the Concordat. What they failed to understand was that this training wasn't just about fighting, it was about discipline, adaptability, and the forging of unbreakable will. The situation deteriorated when Nxtal's security chief, a massive Varaxian named Grund, decided to make an example. He challenged Lieutenant James Rodriguez, one of Kira's junior officers, to a friendly demonstration of combat capabilities. What followed would change the galaxy's perception of humanity forever. Rodriguez stood barely half the height of the Varaxian, but there wasn't a trace of fear in his stance. Years of training in various Earth martial arts had taught him that size wasn't everything. The Varaxian security chief charged forward, expecting to overwhelm the human with pure strength. Instead, Rodriguez moved like water. He redirected Grund's momentum, using the alien's own mass against him. The Varaxian found himself airborne, then crashing onto the station's deck with a thunderous impact that silenced the entire chamber. "This is precisely what concerns us," Nxtal declared, their crystalline form vibrating with agitation. "Such violent tendencies." "You misunderstand," Kira interrupted, her voice carrying across the chamber. "Lieutenant Rodriguez could have seriously injured your security chief. Instead, he used minimum force to neutralize the threat. This is what our training teaches us: control, discipline, and respect for life." The chamber erupted in heated discussion. Some species argued that this display only proved humanity's dangerous nature. Others, particularly the warrior races like the Krell, watched with newfound interest. Admiral Venn, a respected Centaurian known for their measured judgment, raised their tentacles for silence. "Commander Patel, perhaps you could explain why humans maintain such intensive combat training in an age of automated warfare?" Kira stepped forward, her posture straight and proud. "Because we understand that true strength isn't about destroying your opponent. It's about having the capability to do so and choosing not to. Every human soldier, sailor, and marine trains not just their body, but their mind and spirit. We learn to face fear, to adapt to impossible situations, and to maintain our humanity even in the face of overwhelming odds." The chamber fell silent as her words sank in. Even Nxtal seemed to be considering this perspective. "Our training methods may seem primitive to some," Kira continued, "but they forge something that no amount of technology can replace: the human spirit. We don't train for war, we train for peace. Because only those who understand the true cost of violence can be trusted to prevent it." The impact of this incident would ripple across the galaxy in the days to come. What started as a diplomatic embarrassment had become a revelation. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity's strength lay not in their weapons or their technology, but in their unique approach to training both body and mind. As Kira left the chamber that day, she caught sight of several younger aliens watching Lieutenant Rodriguez with undisguised curiosity. They weren't seeing a primitive anymore, they were seeing someone who had achieved mastery over themselves in a way their own species had never considered necessary. The breaking point had come, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of breaking down, humanity had broken through the galaxy's preconceptions, opening the door to a new era of understanding and respect. News of the confrontation at the Galactic Concordat spread faster than light across the known systems. Within days, the interstellar intelligence exchange was flooded with requests for information about human training methods. What had begun as a diplomatic incident had evolved into something far more significant, a galactic revelation about humanity's hidden strengths. High Admiral Xena of the Krell Military Council found herself poring over centuries of human military history. The reptilian commander's scales shimmered under the holographic display as she studied footage from Earth's various martial arts dojos, military academies, and training facilities. Fascinating, she muttered, her forked tongue flicking in concentration. They begin training their young not just in combat, but in discipline and mental fortitude. Even their civilian educational institutions incorporate physical challenges. Her aide, Lieutenant First Class Tkar, looked up from his own display. The most intriguing aspect, Admiral, is their concept of stress inoculation. They deliberately expose themselves to controlled hardship to build resilience. The Krell had always respected humanity as trade partners, but had dismissed them as serious military contenders. Now, watching children practice something called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Xena began to understand what they had all missed. These weren't just combat techniques, they were sophisticated systems for developing both body and mind. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the Zixan High Council was having a very different reaction. Ambassador NX Tal stood before the crystalline assembly, their form vibrating with concern. The humans don't just train for physical combat, they reported. Every aspect of their training incorporates problem-solving and adaptation. Our preliminary studies suggest that their regular exposure to physical and mental challenges has accelerated their species' evolution in unexpected ways. In the depths of space, aboard the human destroyer USS Magellan, Commander Patel received a priority communication from Fleet Admiral Hassan. The holographic projection of her superior officer appeared in her quarters, his expression both worried and amused. "You've stirred up quite a hornet's nest, Commander," Hassan said, using an idiom that would have puzzled most alien species. "We're receiving requests for training exchanges from 17 different species. Even the Zixan want to send observers to our academies." Kira ran a hand through her short black hair, remembering the dismissive attitudes she'd faced just days ago. "They're overreacting, sir. Lieutenant Rodriguez only demonstrated basic defensive techniques." "That's exactly what has them intrigued," Hassan replied. "Our basic techniques represent a philosophy of combat and training that many species have abandoned for millennia. The archivists of Centauri Prime have been comparing our methods to ancient texts from across the galaxy. Apparently, many species once had similar traditions, but lost them as technology advanced. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just preserved something ancient, they had refined and evolved it, integrating modern understanding of psychology and physiology with traditional training methods. Across the galaxy, different species began to recognize different aspects of human training that resonated with their own cultures. The Krell admired the discipline and honor codes of martial arts. The methodical Centaurians were fascinated by the systematic way humans broke down complex movements into teachable components. Even the Zixan, despite their initial disdain, couldn't deny the efficiency of human stress inoculation techniques. But it was the Voraxians who made the most surprising discovery. Grund, the security chief who had been so easily defeated by Lieutenant Rodriguez, requested permanent assignment to Earth as a student of human combat techniques. His official report to his superiors contained a stunning observation. "Humans don't train to overcome their weaknesses, they train to transform those weaknesses into strengths. Their smaller size, shorter lifespan, and heightened emotional responses, rather than being disadvantages, have become catalysts for developing unprecedented adaptability and resilience." As Commander Patel prepared for another day of diplomatic meetings, she reflected on how much had changed in such a short time. The galaxy had seen humans as primitive for maintaining physical combat training in an age of advanced technology. Now they were beginning to understand that humanity's true strength lay not in the techniques themselves, but in the comprehensive development of body, mind, and spirit that their training represented. The question was no longer whether humans were ready for a larger role in galactic affairs, but whether the galaxy was ready for the changes that human influence would bring. As reports flooded in about alien dignitaries requesting access to human training facilities, Kira couldn't help but smile. Sometimes the greatest strength lay not in having power, but in understanding how to develop it wisely. The Martian combat training facility sprawled across the red planet's Vias Marineris, its structures both above and below ground hosting the most ambitious multi-species training program in galactic history. Commander Patel stood in the observation dome, watching as the first batch of alien participants arrived. "They're calling it the Convergence Initiative," Admiral Hassan's hologram explained. 27 species, all here to learn and test human training methods against their own traditions. The Galactic Concordat is treating this as a crucial experiment in military and cultural exchange. Below, a Krell battlemaster was leading her squad through a modified obstacle course. Their reptilian bodies, naturally suited for strength and endurance, struggled with the agility components that humans had designed. Yet they persisted, their determination evident in every movement. "Fascinating adaptation pattern," noted Dr. Raj Varma, the facility's chief training analyst. "The Krell are modifying their traditional combat forms to accommodate the terrain. They're learning to think like humans, adapting rather than relying purely on strength." The real breakthrough came during the third week of training. A mixed squad of humans, Krell, and Centaurians faced off against a pure Voraxian team in a combat simulation. The Voraxians, confident in their superior strength and size, expected an easy victory. Instead, they witnessed something unprecedented. The mixed squad, led by Lieutenant Rodriguez, demonstrated perfect synchronization. The Krell provided power and endurance, the Centaurians contributed tactical analysis through their heightened sensory capabilities, and the humans tied it all together with their adaptability and quick thinking. "Stop simulation," called out Training Director Wei Lin, her voice carrying across the facility. "What we just witnessed wasn't just cooperation, it was evolution. Each species isn't just learning human techniques, they're learning to combine their natural advantages in new ways." The impact of these training sessions rippled through the galaxy. The Zixan, who had initially sent only observers, now requested full participation. Their crystalline bodies, though seemingly inflexible, proved remarkably adaptable when they applied human principles of leverage and momentum. But not everything went smoothly. During a high-intensity training scenario, a young Centaurian named Vex collapsed, overwhelmed by the sensory input that human training methods demanded. The incident sparked heated debate about the universal applicability of human training. Commander Patel called an emergency meeting of the facility's leadership. "This isn't about making everyone train like humans," she declared. "It's about understanding the principles behind our methods and adapting them appropriately. We need to learn from this." Dr. Varma and his team worked around the clock, collaborating with alien physiologists to modify the training programs. They developed new protocols that considered the unique biological and psychological characteristics of each species while maintaining the core principles of human training philosophy. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A Zixan trainee named Crystal Song developed a meditation technique that combined their species' natural resonance abilities with human mindfulness practices. The result was a new form of mental training that enhanced both physical performance and cognitive adaptation. "This is what we've been working toward," Admiral Hassan announced during his inspection visit. "Not just teaching our methods, but creating something new together. Each species brings their own strengths to the table, and through human training principles, we're learning to maximize those strengths." The joint exercises culminated in a series of challenges that tested every aspect of the participants' capabilities. Teams faced environmental hazards, tactical puzzles, and combat scenarios that required them to draw on both their natural abilities and their new training. The results were extraordinary. Mixed species teams consistently outperformed single-species groups, demonstrating levels of coordination and adaptability that had never been seen before. The Galactic Concordat's military observers were stunned by the implications. "We're not just training soldiers," Commander Patel explained to a gathering of diplomatic observers. "We're building bridges between species, creating understanding through shared challenge and triumph. This is what human training has always been about: growth through adversity, strength through diversity." As the first training cycle drew to a close, the facility had already received applications from 15 more species for the next round. The galaxy was beginning to understand that human training methods weren't just about physical combat, they were about unlocking potential, fostering adaptation, and building connections across the stars. In her private log, Commander Patel recorded her thoughts on the project's success. "We've shown the galaxy that true strength comes not from overwhelming power, but from the ability to learn, adapt, and grow. Human training methods aren't just changing how other species fight, they're changing how the galaxy thinks about cooperation and development. The challenge has become an opportunity for transformation." The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Concordat had never seen such diversity in its attendance. Species that traditionally sent only junior representatives now dispatched their highest-ranking officials. The success of the Convergence Initiative had triggered a fundamental shift in galactic politics, and today's session would determine its future direction. Commander Patel, recently promoted to Admiral, stood before the assembly alongside Admiral Hassan. The data from the Mars training facility had exceeded all expectations, but its implications reached far beyond military applications. The human approach to training has applications in education, technological development, and cultural exchange, Admiral Hassan explained to the gathered representatives. What began as a military exercise has evolved into a new framework for interspecies cooperation. The Zixan delegation, led by the newly appointed Ambassador Crystal Song, was the first to respond. Their crystalline form shimmered with harmonious frequencies as they spoke. "Our people have discovered that human training principles can enhance our natural resonance abilities. We've already begun implementing modified versions in our education systems." The chamber erupted in discussion as other species shared similar experiences. The Krell reported unprecedented advancements in their engineering programs after applying human problem-solving methodologies. Centaurian researchers had developed new medical techniques by combining their sensory abilities with human adaptability training. But it was the Voraxian High Commander, Grund himself, who delivered the most compelling testimony. "We once saw humans as physically inferior," he declared, his massive form commanding attention. "Now we understand that true strength lies not in natural advantages, but in the ability to develop and adapt. The humans haven't just taught us new ways to fight, they've taught us new ways to grow." The implications were staggering. Species that had been locked in centuries-old rivalries found common ground in shared training experiences. The Mars facility had proven that diverse teams consistently outperformed homogeneous ones, challenging long-held beliefs about species superiority. Political barriers began to crumble. The Krell, traditionally isolationist, proposed opening their warrior academies to other species. The Centaurians offered to share their advanced sensory techniques in exchange for human training expertise. Even the Zixan, once the most vocal critics of human influence, now advocated for increased integration. "We're witnessing the emergence of a new galactic order," observed Dr. Varma in a private session with the human delegation. "One based not on technological advancement or military might, but on the capacity for growth and adaptation." The changes weren't limited to official institutions. Across the galaxy, citizens of various species began adopting modified versions of human training practices. Hybrid dojos sprang up on countless worlds, combining human techniques with local traditions. The principles of stress inoculation and adaptive learning spread through civilian populations, leading to unprecedented advancements in various fields. However, not everyone embraced these changes. A coalition of traditionalist species, led by the ancient Arxians, warned against too rapid integration. We risk losing our unique cultural identities, their spokesperson argued. Not every species needs to adopt human methodologies. Admiral Patel addressed these concerns directly. The goal isn't to make everyone human, she explained. It's to help each species discover their own potential through proven principles of growth and adaptation. Our training methods are tools, not mandates. The debate culminated in a proposal for a new branch of the Galactic Concordat, the Interstellar Development Initiative. This organization would oversee the implementation of cross-species training programs while ensuring respect for individual species traditions and biological limitations. The vote was nearly unanimous. Even the Arxians, while maintaining their reservations, acknowledged the potential benefits of controlled integration. The galaxy was entering a new era, one where strength was measured not by natural advantages or technological superiority, but by the willingness to learn and adapt. As the session concluded, Admiral Hassan shared a quiet moment with his protégé. "You know, Kira," he said, using her first name for the first time in years, "when humans first joined the Concordat, we were seen as the galaxy's newcomers, primitive and unpredictable. Now we're helping to shape its future." Admiral Patel watched as the chamber slowly emptied, representatives of vastly different species engaging in animated discussions about future collaboration. "We didn't change the galaxy by being stronger or smarter," she replied. "We changed it by showing them that everyone has the potential to grow beyond their limitations." The paradigm shift was complete. The galaxy had moved beyond seeing human training methods as merely military techniques. They had become a bridge between species, a common language of growth and development that transcended biological and cultural differences. The future would belong not to the strongest or most advanced species, but to those most willing to learn and adapt together. 5 years after the establishment of the Interstellar Development Initiative, the galaxy had transformed in ways few could have predicted. The gleaming spires of the new Concordat Academy of Excellence on Mars stood as a testament to this change, its halls filled with students from hundreds of species across known space. Admiral Kira Patel, now serving as the Academy's first director, stood in her office overlooking the Martian landscape. The red planet's surface was dotted with training facilities, research centers, and cultural exchange hubs. Below, a group of Krell warriors practiced alongside Zixan resonance masters and human instructors, their movements synchronized in a beautiful display of interspecies cooperation. Latest results from the Frontier Development Program, Director, announced her assistant, a young Centaurian named Stellar Voice. Their tentacles moved gracefully over the holographic display, bringing up detailed statistics. The joint expeditions are showing unprecedented success rates. Mixed species teams are solving problems that have stumped single-species groups for generations. The data confirmed what they had hoped. The principles of human training, combined with the unique abilities of various species, had created something entirely new. Exploration teams were pushing deeper into uncharted space. Scientific breakthroughs were occurring at an unprecedented rate. Even diplomatic relations had improved dramatically, as species found common ground through shared experiences. But perhaps the most significant change was cultural. The rigid hierarchies that had defined galactic society for millennia were giving way to more fluid, adaptive structures. Species once considered primitive were proving their worth in unexpected ways, while traditionally dominant species learned the value of flexibility in collaboration. During a meeting of the Academy's Governing Council, Admiral Hassan, now semi-retired but still influential, shared an observation. "We didn't just teach them how to fight better," he said, looking around the table at representatives from 24 species. "We taught them how to learn better. And in doing so, we learned from them as well." The truth of his words was evident in the new technologies emerging from cross-species collaboration. The Zixan's crystalline computing systems, enhanced by human adaptive algorithms, had revolutionized space navigation. Krell battle strategies, refined through human training principles, had been adapted to solve complex logistics problems. Even the mysterious Arxians had begun sharing their ancient knowledge, finding that human learning methods made their esoteric wisdom more accessible to other species. However, challenges remained. A small but vocal minority still resisted what they saw as the humanization of galactic culture. Some species struggled with the physical or psychological demands of integrated training. And there were always those who sought to use the new methodologies for less noble purposes. Admiral Patel addressed these concerns during her keynote speech at the Academy's first graduation ceremony. The goal was never to make everyone human, she reminded her audience. It was to help each species discover their own potential. What we've created here isn't a human galaxy, it's a galaxy where every species can grow, adapt, and contribute in their own unique way. The ceremony itself demonstrated this philosophy. Each graduating class had modified their training to suit their species' abilities while maintaining the core principles of growth through challenge. The Zixan graduates demonstrated their new resonance combat techniques, while Krell students displayed unprecedented agility and precision. Human graduates showed mastery of alien combat forms adapted to their physiology. As the ceremony concluded, a message arrived from the furthest reaches of known space. A joint exploration team had made first contact with a new spacefaring species. The team's success in establishing peaceful communication was credited to their diverse composition and adaptive training. "This is what we've been working toward," Admiral Hassan told Kira privately after the ceremony. "Not just teaching our methods, but creating an environment where every species can reach their full potential. The galaxy is no longer divided between the strong and the weak, the advanced and the primitive. Now it's about who's willing to learn, adapt, and grow together." Looking out over the Martian landscape that evening, Admiral Patel reflected on how far they'd come. The lights of the Academy complex glowed against the darkening sky, a beacon of hope and progress in the vastness of space. In the training yards below, the night shift was beginning, species from across the galaxy working together under the stars. "Computer, begin personal log," she said softly. "When we first demonstrated our training methods to the galaxy, we thought we were just defending our place among the stars. Instead, we helped spark a revolution in how species interact and develop. The old barriers are falling, not through force or technological superiority, but through shared growth and understanding." She paused, watching a shooting star trace its path across the Martian sky. "This isn't the end of our journey, it's just the beginning. Each new species we encounter, each new challenge we face, adds another chapter to our shared story. The galaxy is learning that true strength isn't about domination or superiority. It's about the willingness to grow, to change, and to lift others up alongside yourself. And that," she concluded, "may be humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy yet." The new dawn had arrived, not with the bang of weapons or the hum of advanced technology, but with the quiet revelation that the greatest power in the universe was the ability to learn, adapt, and grow together. As humanity looked to the future, they found themselves not at the top of a galactic hierarchy, but at the heart of a new kind of civilization, one built on the foundation of shared growth and endless possibility.